Betsy, and today we have a fun video. We're gonna go over my 2020 face palette collection. Now, whenever I talk about face palettes and there's an eyelash stuck to it. What I consider face palettes is something that is a mixture of either blush, bronzer, and highlight of all three or just of two products. If it's just highlight, it goes in the highlighter box. If it's just blush or just bronzer, it goes in the blush bronzer box. But I have a lot of good products in here that I kind of want to talk about. And with everything happening, I just want to talk about makeup. Because we'll leave it there. Okay, so to start off, one of my favorites, this is Beauty Bakery, the Coffee and Cocoa palette. Now, Beauty Bakery is a Black-owned company. And this is what the outside of the palette looks like. Okay, and there's Deja Brew, which is a bronzer, Anti-Depresso, which is a highlighter, You're Grounded, which I think is supposed to be either bronze, I'm not sure what it's supposed to be because I'm not deep enough for that shade, and La Vida Mocha, which is another highlighter. So there's a lot of highlighters in here. Or you can use them as eyeshadows, or you can kind of do what I do. Okay, so the bronzer works beautifully on my skin tone. It does just fine. So does the Anti-Depresso. It works as a highlighter during the summer. I haven't tried it during the winter. I think it might be a little dark now. But I do use the brown shade that is in there as a little bit of a contour. I can use that if I'm going light. And then the coppery shade I can use as a blush, as a copper blush, and it is super pretty as a blush. It really, really is. Let's do that. Let's grab a brush and add a little bit of this because I want y'all to see. Because it really is something. I went a little ham, but you know what? That's okay. And it makes a beautiful, beautiful glowy blush. Now, one thing I am not always the fondest of is that there's not a mirror in the palette. But I mean, typically when I do my makeup, I'm sitting right here and I've got monitors and I've got mirrors, but you see how beautiful that blends out? And on a deeper skin tone, that would make the most beautiful highlight. But it's great. I cannot wait to see what Beauty Bakery comes out with because I do have a blush palette from them. I really enjoy the products I have from Beauty Bakery. I'm hoping that they do more eyeshadow palettes. At this point, nothing has piqued my interest, but that doesn't mean nothing will. I mean, you see how pretty beautiful that looks as a blush? Next up, this is the Mod About You palette by Trixie Cosmetics. Trixie Cosmetics is a drag queen owned beauty brand by Trixie Mattel. So we've got Go Go Girl, Plush Bunny, and Creamsicle. I love the packaging on this. And then this is Go Go Girl, Plush Bunny, and Creamsicle. So Creamsicle is a beautiful highlight. I have used Plush Bunny quite a bit as a blush, and Go Go Girl I think will make a beautiful blush during the summer. And you see how beautiful that blends out? I really enjoy that formula. And this is the first face palette I've tried from Trixie Cosmetics. I've slowly bought a few products from the brand, but I'm trying to get into more. Next up, this is the Nomad Cosmetics Sydney Bathers palette. So it looks like this. I got this in a BoxyCharm, and this was my first Nomad product, and I really enjoy this. I don't subscribe to BoxyCharm anymore, but this palette has 3 beautiful highlighters and a bronzer. And the bronzer right now works. During the summer, not so much. But the highlights are beautiful. Now, this one is a little bit too pale for me, but I really enjoy the formula. And they're supposed to be releasing a new eyeshadow palette on the 12th that I am definitely interested in getting. Next up, this is the Midas Cosmetics times Neon MUA Noon Face Palette. Now, this was from the Dusk Till Dawn collection, and there were 4 different palettes. There was one for deep, tan, medium, and light. I've got the one for medium. And I really love, I don't want to swatch everything today. This highlight is gorgeous. And I love the bronzer and contour shade that's in here. I use these quite a bit. Like if you've watched videos, you've seen me use that. I really enjoy it. And one of the great things about it is there were shades for all skin tones. That was important to me. Okay, so next up we're gonna jump into the black sheep of my collection right now. We're gonna talk about it today, and then we probably won't talk about it until they become more inclusive, and if they don't, I won't ever talk about it again. I've got 2 face palettes here from Hourglass. So we've got the Ambient Lighting Diffused Edit palette that has Diffused Light, Euphoric Fusion, and Luminous Bronze Light. So this is a bronzer that is lighter than my skin tone. So I'm not sure who that's supposed to work for, but you know, it is what it is. The blushes and powders are beautiful. This is the Holiday 2020. This is the Ambient Lighting Edit Mini Sculpture. And there's a blush, a bronzer, a highlight, and a powder. Again, this is a bronzer. And you can barely see it on my skin. I actually own the deepest bronzer from Hourglass, which is this. This is the Radiant Bronze Light. It looks like this. And if me, especially in my winter shade, which is a light medium, can wear the deepest bronzer, there is a problem with inclusivity. And especially after the stuff that they just pulled, where they showed a beautiful black woman with holding up one of these little trio palettes, but all the powders were re-released, and the powder that was on the end that was supposed to be like one of their diffused light powders for it, it was a bronzer. So it wasn't even formulated for deeper skin. And it's getting to the point that we need to say something. We need to be like, things need to be more inclusive. Next up, this is Glamlight. This is the S'mores palette. I love the bronzer. The marshmallow highlight is a little light for me, but the graham cracker one is beautiful. But I can take and mix the two. Stunning. So good. I got that. It was in the Chocolate Lovers, or yeah, whatever the chocolate palette was. Not the chocolate palette, but the Chocolate Lovers box. Okay. I own 2 palettes from Charlotte Tilbury. This is the Glowgasm face palette. As you can see, she is really well loved. The bronzer in here is beautiful. So is the highlight, and well, these could either be used as highlights or blushes. And I do love a good glowy blush. That's the bronzer. And when you swatch it, it definitely is one of those shades that needs to be built up. But the highlights slash blushes are gorgeous. Gorgeous. So I really like that. But I think that is the deeper of the 2 shades. Next up, this is the Film Star Bronze and Glow. This is the mini version, and I wish they would have the deeper version in the mini, because the bronzer in here, like, doesn't really show up. I mean, it shows up beautifully on my daughter, who's a fair skin tone. But yeah, I wish that they would offer, like, I think right now they offer this in 2 shades. I wish they would offer it in more, because I think a lot of people would get some good enjoyment out of it. Okay, next we're going up into my e.l.f. Bite Size. So I have this one, which is Coconut. So this is the bronzer and highlight. And again, I wish there were more shades in the bronzer. The highlight's gorgeous. It definitely, so that's the bronzer. The bronzer works on me, but I wish there were deeper and lighter options. They only came out with one. Then I have all of the blush highlighter duos. So we've got this one, which is Spiced Apple. Then we have, I think this is White Peach. This is a little bit, like, I wish that this blush, like, I don't know. This blush on this one's a little bit disappointing. But, you know, it is what it is. Then we have Pomegranate. I like this one. Then we have, what is this? Guava. I really like the shade in Guava too. That's what this one looks like, which now it looks a little pale on my skin. And then last, no, not last but not least, this one is Watermelon. I like the shade of Watermelon, though this does not remind me of the color of Watermelon. I wish they would have went on a little bit brighter. We've got this, which is lychee, however you say that. Looks like this. This is a great neutral blush. And these are pretty. And then last but not least, which was one I was super excited about, but I don't think it shows up great on my skin, and that is Cantaloupe. So it is more of a yellowy tone, which I was wanting more yellow tone blushes. But I mean, as you can see, it doesn't show up a whole lot on my skin. Which is okay, not everything has to work for me, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I just want, if things don't work for me, then them to work for others, and actually have shades that do work for me as well. Which I do feel like e.l.f. does have blushes that work for me, it's just bronzers not for everyone. Then this is Too Faced Pineapple Paradise Strobing Bronzer and Highlight. I've had this a while. Still smells like pineapple though. The bronzer is pretty, I like that, but I really, really like the highlight that is in this. That is the showstopper for me. So I'm glad I have that. There's not much Too Faced that I really enjoy anymore. There's not, too much that doesn't have enough pigmentation that, I mean, like the packaging is always a 10 out of 10. It's just, I wish there were more. Then this is the Fruit Cocktail Blush Duo in Apricot in the Act. So this is the blush. This is the highlight. Now I will say the highlighter in the pineapple is much creamier, but I like the color of the blush. I'm not really sure why I'm actually holding on to that anymore. Okay, that's gonna get decluttered. I'm not really a fan of how either one of those blended out. And if you actually look at it, it does look like it's getting some hard pan. So that one's gonna go. I will hold on to the pineapple highlighter and blush though, because I like that. Okay, next up we're gonna do my Cheek Stars palette from Benefit, which looks like this. So there are 3 blushes, a bronzer, and a highlight. I bought this for the cookie highlight. This is a beautiful highlight. And I actually really do like Georgia and Dallas as blushes. Can't really see them here, but on the cheeks they're just like a beautiful natural thing. But cookie as a highlight is, I don't know what it is, it's just a beautiful like shimmering splendidness that just makes me so happy. So that is the Cheek Stars. I wish they would do more palettes where they would use, like, I wish they would come out with more highlights that are similar to like Cookie, but in more colors. And I hate, like, their packaging is never one of my favorites, but I can stand it in a palette more than I can with their box blushes and stuff like that. That's why I don't own any of them anymore. I just am not a fan of the bulkiness of the packaging. Okay. Next up, I have 2 Nars Narcissus palette. So I've had these for a while. We have the Exposed Cheek palette, which looks like this, if I can open it. the highlight again is beautiful. And this has like this really unusual cool toned undertone. And the blushes, Nars does really well with their blushes. They blend out really well. So I have this one which has some neutrals. These are great if you travel, because there's something about Nars's formula. It's like hard in there that I have dropped these and not had a problem with them breaking. Now I've watched me drop them and then I will shatter one. But like there's a lot of other brands that I do shatter products on the regular from. Then this is the Wanted One palette. So this is what it looks like. So it's mainly blushes with one highlight, which I do like the highlight. Again, highlight is what drives me in a lot of times. But I purchased this because it had this lavender blush, which right now doesn't work, but like in spring and stuff like that, it's really pretty. But if you were looking for a good lavender blush that's matte finish like that, I would recommend looking into Menagerie Cosmetics, because the Arthurian blush palette I love, but you can buy those blushes as singles. Now we're getting into the last but not least, because Natasha Denona makes some of my favorite products, and I have 4 of her face palettes. So we've got the tan, which looks like this. So I mean, as you can see, I have dug into this bronzer quite a bit, same with the highlight. I don't use these cream products all that much. I need to repress that in there because it's kind of like I dropped it and I broke the cream. Yeah, I broke the cream. How does that even work? But the cream products are beautiful, and the cream base, this is gorgeous. It's just I don't ever remember to use it, and I need to grab for it more, because when you, let me show you. Okay, so you see that's the cream base, and it's beautiful on its own. Now I'm going to take the highlight that's in here and layer it over it, and it just gives this extra dimension, that beautiful wet shine that I love. Next up, this is the Natasha Denona Love Glow palette. Now I know a lot of people thought this was chintzy looking and kitty makeup, but I adore glitter and I love this pretty packaging. Like, to me, that's fun. I'm all about fun. So when you look in here, you've got 2 creams and 2 powders again. Actually, no, this is a powder. But the cream base, again, see what that looks like? So beautiful. That's what those look like. So stunning. So I really enjoy Natasha Denona's formula in these little palettes. That's part of the reason why I have so many. And I will probably buy all of them that she comes out with, because I do enjoy it. Then this is the Bloom palette. And this has one of my favorite cream blushes of all time, which is just called Cream Blush, which looks like this. And you're like, Betsy, what are you thinking? But whenever you kind of pop it on, and I like to blend this out with a sponge, you can see how it just kind of blends out. Now, typically what I actually like to do is not with my finger, because I feel like I get a more even application. I'll take like my sponge, this is the BK Beauty sponge, and dip it in there, and then just pounce it, and you get just like this doll-like blush. You see how pretty that is? And there's like no beginning and no end, and you can blend it out as much as you want to, but I really enjoy this. Now, last but not least is the Natasha Denona Bronze Cheek Palette. This is the newest one out of these, and this came out with the bronze palette. Again, the cream base that's in here, which I didn't think I was gonna like, because this is really pale. Looks like this. And again, it's just beautiful. But there's a cream blush in here that you wouldn't think is a blush. It looks like this. It's this one. So you want that beautiful bronze goddess look for summer. Use that as a blush. It just gives this beautiful bronzy glow, but not like you have bronzer on your cheek, but like you've been in the sun and healthy. Yeah, because that's not us anymore. But yeah, that is my cheek, face, palette collection. So as you can see, I have some good stuff in here, some stuff that I really love, and then there's some stuff that disappoints me now. So we're definitely getting rid of the apricot one. And that's part of the reason why I'm doing this is, you know, trying to go through, see what still works, what doesn't. Because that apricot one is actually super old. I've had it for quite a while. And the newest one is the Trixie. But yeah, I'm happy with everything I have. Tomorrow on Saturday, we're going to do a live of my full big eyeshadow collection, the big palettes. I figured a live would be a little bit easier because then that way if you have questions, I can slow and talk about each palette more thoroughly. Okay, so I'm not sure where that ended because, well, my camera card got full and I had to go delete some stuff off there. But what I want to know is what time you would like to see said eyeshadow palette collection if you're interested. Kind of a time frame. We're going to do it live. Try to keep it to, you know, something reasonable amount of time, but you know, there's I think over 300 eyeshadow palettes there, so that might be hard. Actually, I don't know if it's 300 with the big ones. I think it's 300 with the big ones and the small ones, and there's like 70 something there. I don't know. There's a lot. There's a lot. Way too many. But yeah, I guess that's it. So we'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye. Okay.